All right. Peace to everybody in the building. Peace to everybody in the building. Everybody throw up the live stream, share the live stream, guys. Throw up the video and share the live stream. What we're not going to do is allow Sarnetta or Jabari to conflate what I'm doing and what I'm saying. You know, I have no problem going on platforms that tend to be biased against me, but when the rules are shifted in favor of somebody else, that's when we're not playing those type of games at all. That's when we're not playing those type of games at all. So everybody saw the video. Everybody watched the demonstration. Jabari literally is on the live stream crying, right? He says he wants to have an honest debate. He says he wants to have a fair debate, but then he's not being honest and he's not being fair. He's talking longer than me and then getting upset when I have something to say of merit. So this is a joke to me at this point, and everybody can see it. And so, you know, what I have to say about moving forward is I try to give Sarnetta and Sarnetta Studios the benefit of the doubt when I do my live streams, but apparently that's not enough, because even Sarnetta knows that Jabari was full of it this evening and crying and, you know, not allowing information to spew, right? We're here for the information. We're not here for the crying. Answer the questions. I was told HOK was supposed to be the toughest environment. I'm the one that coined the phrase, welcome to the big league for the HOK. So if it's welcome to the big league and we the toughest environment, then why are we crying about information being shown? Why is it that when I show the information, he says, oh, he came prepared? No, you said, I'm the only one that showed a slide. That's what Jabari said. Jabari said he's the only one that showed a slide tonight. Remember, I said that because Jabari is unprepared, mind you guys, this is the second time that he's unprepared. The last time we had this conversation is last year. Even on the live stream, he's unprepared live because as everybody was seeing, he's on Google, he's on this website, he's all over the place. So he's unprepared last year, he's unprepared now, yet he's telling me that he's showing his proof, and I'm not showing my proof. So I went and showed 5 slides that point towards my presentation, my point, and now he's crying. Zion came with a whole bunch of slides. That's ambush scholarship. That's not ambush scholarship. You're the one that says I'm not showing what I'm saying. You called for it. If you would have shut up and just did what you needed to do, which is to show your proof in any way that you saw fit, I wouldn't have need to go into those slides. Like I said, I wasn't going into those slides. There was no need to. You asked for it. I was told HOK is the toughest platform. I was told HOK is the toughest environment. So if that's the case, let's be tough and let's not cry. All right. So, you know, shout out to all of the family that was in the building showing love. Even shout out to people on Team HOK that saw that Jabari was running, you know, and whatever. Typically, when me and Jabari come together to have these dialogues, Sarnetta, as he even admits, he's usually biased on his platform. And even though he has a tendency to be biased towards Hebrews and even biased towards me, of which even recently he apologized for being biased towards me. So, I don't understand why it continues. If you guys notice, Jabari said nothing tonight, literally nothing. And Sarnetta dropped a bomb on him. Look at all of the information I dropped, and there was no bomb. So we're not being biased. So this is why I tend to be on my platform and do what I do, and rarely, if ever, ask Sarnetta to go on that platform, because that platform, even though I have contributed greatly towards it, it has a tendency to not only be biased against Hebrews, but more specifically, even biased against me, which is crazy because Sarnetta reached out to me just recently and apologized for being biased. Yet tonight, Jabari literally stalled for 20 minutes to answer my question. Then when he finally does, he still doesn't address answering my question. Sarnetta drops a bomb. With all of the things I said, Sarnetta dropped no bomb. The comments that Sarnetta kept pinning on the live stream were people that were agreeing with me, but he drops no bomb. So, we're going to do what we do over here. And this is why I usually just stay on this platform. I don't beg nobody to go on their platform because I'm very comfortable in my skin. I'm very comfortable doing what I do. You know what I'm saying? I'm very comfortable doing what I do. But the point is, Jabari failed miserably tonight Because on the one hand, he's calling himself, and y'all heard it, he postured before me. I was trying to keep it very humble. But the shots began with Brother Jabari. Y'all heard him, right? I come across as the aggressor because one thing about me, and this is why people can't take me, but my thing is, if you can't take my response, then why would you initiate the reaction? Why would you initiate something that would pull a reaction from you if you can't handle my response? You see, one thing about me, I'm known for doing, I will match your energy. And it's not my fault that me matching your energy is usually going to be larger than the energy that you're displaying. It's not my fault. I don't know how to even begin to apologize for that. What I will simply say is Jabari began posturing first, with the machismo saying that he is the historian, the African historian, and I'm just a Torah practitioner. So when I respond with the necessary energy by calling him out, simply by saying, you're not even answering the question, now all of a sudden I'm wrong, right? So, this is why, again, I do what I do, because I see that there's a vested interest in these communities not to really see fair and balanced dialogues, which I don't mind because I usually say that information wins. But when you're on a platform that will literally go out of its way to make one person appear like they're doing more than the other, then that becomes obsolete. And what are we even doing this for? Because the information should speak for itself. And I thought that, Sonetta reaching out, telling me that, we were cool and he apologized for being biased and he apologized for doing me wrong in the past. That's his words, not mine, right? So why is it continuing? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Even in the midst of me disagreeing with Sonetta, I've always showed him love. So why would you allow Jabari to come on this platform and do this? I get it. The HOK platform at this part in history, Jabari has a heavy role in deliberating and playing a role in building. I get that. And I get how that means something to Sonetta. But I was there long before Jabari. And I helped to make HOK the name that it is today. I helped to make it. I didn't make HOK. I didn't make Sonetta, but I helped to make it the name that it is today. When you speak of some of the biggest debates and the greatest dialogues in the community, it's impossible to not mention my name. So to treat me like I'm just somebody that just came along the way and be biased just because, that's your homie, that's corny to me. And that's the reason why I enjoy staying on my platform, where not only we can have a more balanced and fair dialogue, because as you guys notice, when I call people on my platform, they're allowed to say whatever they want to say. I allow people to speak. Ain't going to be no sabotage. Just say what you want to say, because I believe information speaks for itself. That's what I believe. I believe information speaks for itself. But I'm gonna really get this point out, and I'm gonna say this. And this is for everybody that's just watching the general conversation, right? When we talk about the hallmarks of civilization, right? What actually makes a civilization, you'll soon see that Kemet and ancient Egypt doesn't stand a chance against saying that it is an older civilization than Sumer. Because if you notice, the tactics used time and time again by Kemetic practitioners, I can't say historians at this point because they clearly don't know history, by Kemetic practitioners is they're going to early cultures and say that these early cultures are the Kemetic civilization. By the way, Jabari said that culture isn't older than civilization. So let me show you guys how silly that is, right? Let me show you guys real quick how silly that is. I can't believe he actually said that. I actually can't believe that he actually said that culture is not older than civilization. He also said that when Zion says that, Zion is making it up because culture is not older than civilization. So let me my screen quick in order to show you guys this. Let me share my screen real quick. He says that culture is not a civilization. So watch this. And with the answer to this, you guys will see why Jabari is not fit to have this discussion with me. Because it's really embarrassing that Jabari doesn't know that cultures precede civilization. So let me just walk you guys through this really quick.
You need stream.
First different, culture is than civilization, but civilization is a bigger unit than culture. Second, culture can grow without civilization, but civilization will never grow without the elements of culture. Look at this picture. This is civilization. This is culture.
Let me switch to the one that I was
Behavior.
looking at. Give me a second. Let me switch to the one I was actually looking at. It's a better video than this. A much better video than this. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm on Zoom because I didn't have time to set up StreamYard on my own. So just give me a second, y'all, to pull this up real quick. Give me 1 second. You guys should be able to see this in a couple of seconds.
To roughly 200,000 years ago and began spreading across the world. Across time, various groups developed their own ways of doing things, like creating their own cultures, or sets of productions, beliefs, and behaviors. People of the same culture composed societies, or communities who saw themselves as belonging together. Yeah, early people had a lot of decisions to make, but that's what happens when you're the first to arrive. Let's take a look at some of the basic ways that people started to define themselves and started creating early societies. Most early human groups were relatively small and traveled consistently. As they started to develop unique cultures, they found ways to distinguish themselves from other groups and
I want everybody to notice that before we talk about civilization, we talk about culture. That's the point of showing the video. Brother Jabari tried to suggest that I'm making things up, which was, is just, that's since he talks about science, that's astronomically crazy, right? To literally lie to the people and not tell them that culture precedes what we call civilization, right? Civilization can't even exist unless you have culture. That in itself tells you that culture precedes civilization. You can have a culture and not be a civilization, but you cannot be a civilization and not have a culture. Let me say that again. Because apparently people don't really study. So, and this is embarrassing because he's the university professor. And as he says, I'm just a Torah practitioner. So let me say this. You can have culture without having a civilization, but it's impossible to have a civilization and not have culture. That literally tells you that culture precedes civilization. That literally tells you that culture precedes civilization. I'll say it again for the people in the cheap seats or the slow people. You can have culture without having civilization. You cannot have a civilization without having culture. Culture comes first. So check this out really quick.
began to define. Modern humans, i.e. Homo sapiens, evolved roughly 200,000 years ago and began spreading across the world. Across time, various groups developed their own ways of doing things, like creating their own cultures, or sets of productions, beliefs, and behaviors. People of the same culture composed societies, or communities who saw themselves as belonging together. Yeah, early people had a lot of decisions to make, but that's what happens when you're the first to arrive. Let's take a look at some of the basic ways that people started to define themselves and started creating early societies. Most early human groups were relatively small and traveled consistently. As they started to develop unique cultures, they found ways to distinguish themselves from other groups and began to define the places of every individual within their own group. This is one of the first steps to defining a society. Now, some groups were egalitarian, in which everyone was completely equal, but many found it was useful to put someone in charge. This led to a system of social stratification, in which people had different roles in society. Compared to
And let me say this really quick too. One of the main reasons why you can have culture before you have civilization is because what we call civilization are a couple of components, or what I describe as hallmarks, that come together to give rise to what's called civilization. Writing, law, irrigation, the building of cities, right? The distribution of labor and classes, right? Having a system of worship, right? All of these things, when they come together to give us what's called civilization. There are earlier cultures that didn't have writing, that didn't have pharmacology, that did not have the distribution of labor, that did not have the building of major cities, that did not have the building of dikes and rivers, but they had culture. So to not know that culture precedes civilization is a farce. And mind you, anytime you look at a timeline of Kemet, all of the timelines will show you that Kemet as a civilization is between 3300 BCE and 3100 BCE. Before that period, everything we're speaking about are cultures. It's never termed a civilization. So that's where you guys were being lied to. And that's why I needed to continually say that Jabari is lying, right? If we're going to have an honest dialogue, you got to at least be honest.
later societies, early humans had pretty low levels of separation, but they were there. So how did people differentiate themselves? One common way was through gender. Men and women often had different tasks, although it's actually unclear in the archaeological record just how common this was in the early world. Another form of division was based on skill sets. Have you ever made a stone tool? I have. It's really hard.
Thanks for pointing that out. Shamuela said, I just don't understand how Jabari spent the whole time talking about debate rules. That's because he was unequipped to deal with the topic, which is fine because we really weren't supposed to go into the topic like that. But I asked him a very specific question pertaining to the hallmarks of civilization, which he was the one that said that he's the only one that's pointing out what that is. So isn't he forcing me to show why it is that I have a different view? And when I begin to show that, now I'm hijacking him. Now I'm coming to embarrass him. No, you're embarrassing yourself by not being prepared after having had this conversation a full year ago. Aren't you embarrassed? Your own community was in the comment section telling you that you are failing.
Hard, and it takes lots of time. So
we're gonna leave that point there, and let me just say this really quick. I'm gonna do a full PowerPoint demonstration tomorrow on my live stream. I'm gonna go into Jabari's argument for why Kemet is a civilization that is older than that of Sumer. I'm gonna show you guys him going into Nap Playa. I'm not gonna go into Soneta's video, right? I'm gonna just show what he showed, and then I'm going to show you what I have to present. And you guys are going to literally see that Jabari is literally not even prepared to have this conversation, not with me. He can have this conversation with a lot of people and get away with what he was saying, right? But he can't have the conversation with me. He complained about me talking long. When you go back and you look at the video, and I adjure anybody to do it, and you time how much he talked and you time how much I talked, you'll see that he talked far longer than me. Of course, he wanted to include, well, you're the one that talked more in the beginning when we were talking about the Arab-Israeli conflict. Yeah, that's because I clearly had more to contribute than you. I shouldn't be slighted for that. It's apparent that I had more to contribute to current events than you. But on the topic of Sumer being an older conversation, you spoke longer than me. Then you cried when I spoke close to your time. Then you cried that I was forcing you, compelling you to answer the questions. Then you stalled for almost 30 minutes in answering the question. It was over 20 minutes that you stalled. While you're looking to answer my question, you're talking about Zion not following the rules. What is happening? I can't find the website. You're stalling. And people were literally typing that. Why is Jabari stalling? This is not going good for him. You see, one thing about me, I'm a lion. And I'm unafraid to enter anybody's lion's den. Because in my opinion, I haven't met a lion yet in any of these lion's dens that I've entered. And that's me being real, and that's me being straight. I'm unafraid of entering any of their lion's dens, because each time that I entered it, I encountered a pack of wolves. And we already know what happens when a lion steps in a den of wolves. The wolves see competition and the lion sees food. The whole time I'm in this community, most of these guys just been food. I haven't seen their lion yet. So I don't mind having these discussions, but what I won't allow, because I'm too seasoned and I have too many years in this, is to continually be treated in a biased way, right? Because of the platform and its need to be appeasing to certain members. Sonetta treated me this way when it came to Polite, and now he's treating me this way when it comes to Jabari. And at a certain point, you repeating the same mistakes, it doesn't fall on whoever's doing it to you, it falls on you, right? They say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So at what point do I have to just realize that this platform is not going to be equally fair to me? Because I said a lot of things that garnered bombs being dropped, and everybody noticed Sonetta didn't drop not a near nutter, no bomb. Jabari literally said nothing, and Sonetta dropped a bomb. So we're not talking about being biased. So, you know, occasionally I have these stints where I kind of distance myself from Sonetta because of certain things that I see. But I'm not sure if this is just going to be a distance, because at this point, it's like, what are we doing here? I've contributed so much to the platform, right? We've got over the one issue that we had. Me and him only had one issue. He first did a video on me. I responded to him. After that, I left it alone. That was it. He came back. He apologized. He apologized recently and said, Brother Zion, I admit I haven't been being fair to you. This is real talk. It's not me trying to make light of the brother, just keeping it real. He said, Brother Zion, I've been biased to you. I did you wrong. You know, even the Paul told me that I did you wrong. And, you know, going forward, brother, I won't be doing that. This was about a month ago. And I said, Sonetta, you know what? I appreciate you for saying that. So then what about tonight? Because surely Jabari should be allowed to speak his piece. He should be allowed to speak, but he shouldn't be allowed to lie on me. He shouldn't be allowed to interrupt me as I'm speaking and say things. But the moment I do it to him, he cries, right? Again, I was told that the HOK is the toughest environment. You crying about me doing the very same thing that you did to me. How tough is that environment when it's full of crybabies? It's supposed to be the lion's den. I'm the one that coined the phrase on that platform, welcome to the big league. Let's not forget that. So if this is the big league in the toughest environment, why is who they consider one of their biggest and best debaters crying on the platform? This is the stuff that I don't understand. But one thing I know I understand is that I do research. That's one of the things that I do. Apart from being a Torah practitioner, which I certainly am, I do a whole lot of research. Like this side of my bookshelf represents the Torah practitioner side. This side is my historian side, right? And my historian side is not just looking at information that agrees with my points. If you notice, I'm pulling up scholars that posit that Kemet's an older civilization. I'm quoting Sheikh Anti-Geop. Sheikh Anti-Geop doesn't believe that Sumer is an older civilization, but at least I'm showing that I can go into scholarship that disagrees with my point of view. What honest scholar in trying to present a view only is looking at scholars that agree with them? Because where did Jabari once show that he's looking at scholars that disagree with his view, yet still have gems to offer in lieu of his views? Right? So this is where things get kind of whack. So, you know, this is not the hate Sarnetta because Jabari's crying, and we're not going to do that. We're grown, right? We're grown. But what I will do is I will figure out whether this will be a distance from Sarnetta or whether this is going to be a goodbye to Sarnetta Studios. Because from the very first debate that I ever had, Shaka Amos, Sarnetta treated me in a very biased way. The discussion that we're having right now, I feel, wasn't as biased as Sarnetta can be. I'm going to admit that. But when he throws a bomb on Jabari saying nothing, and all of the things I said, he doesn't drop a single bomb, then we know what it is. It's bias. And at that point, I got to ask myself, why am I on that platform? Right? Why am I on that platform? I fare very well doing what I do. Right? So there's nothing that Sarnetta could show y'all where I'm begging him to be on his platform. That don't exist. Sarnetta calls my phone to be on that platform. I have never begged to be on that platform. That's a fact. That's not dissing Sarnetta. That's just the facts. Facts. I am not, you know, a fiend for the limelight as a lot of people are who, they got people that pay money to be on Sarnetta platform. I never did that. Sarnetta would call me and I come on. Once in a blue, have I called Sarnetta and be like, yo, I got a topic, and get Jabari or get Polite when Polite was around before the charges? Hell yeah, I said that. But ask Sarnetta, how many fingers can you hold up to count how many times I did that? Because I guarantee you it's still one hand, 5 fingers in the 10 plus years that I know him. So I'm saying that to say that I'm comfortable doing what I do, and therefore there's no real need to go on a platform that has shown me since my introduction to that platform that not only will it be continuously biased towards me, but to all Hebrews and even and especially the Bible, right? I'm catching flack for my community telling me, yo, Zion, man, you know, I respect that you go on the platform and, you know, you reach a lot of people, and that's a fact. You reach a lot of people there, and Israelites are to blame for that too, because right now there's still Israelites on that platform that's not on this live stream. Yet we wonder why it is that we can't grow in our community, where we can't even figure out that that takes support. So we are in part to blame. We gonna call a spade a spade. We gonna keep it real. We gonna keep it a buck, right? Let me read from some of the comments. It says, I hope you got out that. I'm not reading that. I'm only reading comments that talk about what we're doing tonight. Uriah says this was bias. This bias was crazy up in there. That's a fact, of course, which is expected. But one thing y'all gotta respect about me, I'm a whole lion. You think I don't know when we go on that platform that the odds are stacked against us? I know that every time, but I still go in there unafraid because I know that the information speaks for itself. And a lot of times the people who are on the opposite end can't handle the information. As you saw Jabari literally crying and stalling rather than answering the question. I want everybody to notice that the topic of tonight's discussion is, when does Kemet become a civilization? There's a subtitle, which I mentioned in the beginning, which is, and what are the hallmarks of civilization? But let's throw the subtitle out for just a second, and let's only deal with what the flyer says, right? In fact, let me unshare my screen for a second to show you guys the flyer, right? Let me show you guys real quick, just so we're clear on some things, because if we're going to talk the truth, we got to talk the truth. So just give me a second. Let me show you guys this. You guys should be able to see my screen in a couple of seconds. I just want to show y'all some stuff, because apparently we back to square one with these platforms. And I don't know about y'all, but I've grown a lot over the years, and I'm not into repeating certain things. I'm not into doing that. I go where my contribution is respected. That's it. At a certain point, what are we even doing out here? I go where my contribution is respected. It's just that simple. Let me show you guys the flyer real quick. Right? When you guys can see the flyer, type a one in the room or throw some fire emojis. Right? I want everybody to look at the flyer. The flyer says, when does Kemet become a civilization? And the Hamas-Israeli conflict. I want everybody to go back to the discussion just now in front of the TV and notice that Jabari admittedly didn't answer the question. Not my words, his words. Remember, he continually said, I am not going to answer all of your questions. You don't get to do that. I'm going to answer what I want to answer. So he's admitting that he's not going to answer all of the questions, even though I asked him one question with 3 parts. My question was, when does Kemet become a civilization? What are you looking at to determine that Kemet becomes a civilization? By the way, I said 3 parts, but if we have common sense, the question that I asked didn't even need to be subdivided into 3 parts. I did that because I know Jabari likes to run from answering questions. That's why I needed to have that. But if you're really listening to the first question I asked, when does Kemet become a civilization? Then it includes the other 2 parts, which is, what are you looking at to determine that Kemet is an older civilization? And what are the hallmarks of civilization? Those things, 2 things are needed to answer my question. But I broke it up into 3 parts because Jabari does not like to answer my questions on this topic. Because as he knows, the moment he answers my questions, the debate is done. There's no way in hell Kemet is an older civilization than Sumer. That's why in the history books today, in elementary, in middle school, in college, it is still taught that Sumer is an older civilization than Egypt. What are we even arguing about? That's what's almost even more crazy than anything else right now. Because we're arguing, having a scholarly debate about something that no scholar agrees with Jabari on. Scholars are not saying that Egypt is an older civilization than Sumer. Are there more scholars now attempting to offer reasons why Kemet could be contemporary with Sumer? Absolutely. But no scholars are saying that Kemet is older than Sumer. It is still taught in history books, elementary, middle school, high school, college, that Sumer is an older civilization. In fact, let's just do some quick work, right? Let's just do some quick work. We're going to do this live, right? What is the oldest civilization? I'm going to do this live. 10 oldest civilization. Everybody see where it says updated? We're on a website called oldest.org, right? Even if you go to Live Science, right? But we'll go to both. 10 oldest civilizations. I want everybody to see this. This is updated, 2023. I want everybody to see where they begin. Mesopotamia, right? In fact, let's click on the video real quick. Let's click on the video real quick. Because apparently people act like we can't verify these things. So let's look at the video real quick. What's the oldest civilization? First it said, I want to make sure we can see everything on the screen. Modern humans emerged in Africa about 200,000 years ago. Mind you, I pointed that out. I said, if you follow the out of Africa theory, the first place that Africans land is in the Levant, in Palestine, in what we call today the land of Israel. It is there that the hallmarks of civilization begin, and civilization itself begins in Sumer. Now look. Early humans built civilizations by creating agriculture, tools, art, and social structures. I want everybody to notice that the first thing named is agriculture. So why did Jabari take us all the way to Nap the Playa, astronomical stone circles? That's not agriculture. That's not a city. There's no irrigation. It doesn't contain any of the hallmarks of civilization. You see, one of the reasons why Jabari is allowed to get away with the sleight of hand on Team Kemet, HOK Studios, is because number one, more than half of that platform's audience is stupid. We're just going to call a spade a spade. More than half of them are stupid. We're just going to call a spade a spade. We say they're stupid because you can see it in the comments. You can see it in the bias. Before people even speak, before people even say anything, we don't want to hear the Bible. Oh, he's talking Bible. When a person can't even open their ears to listen to what you're saying, they believe that it's because they're smarter, but what they're really doing is revealing how dumb and stupid they are. Because what the wisest person knows is that knowledge, information, and understanding is based on the ability to listen and hear what people are saying. If at the end of listening and hearing what people are saying, you disagree with them, then by all means disagree. But when we go on these platforms, oh, they talking the Bible. Yo, guys, if we gave most of these platforms elementary exams and tests, we know most of them would fail horribly. We know that. You could tell by the comments. I mean, we're going to keep it real or not. These are the guys that made Polite the king of HOK, but they not stupid? Come on, y'all. we going to keep it real? Come on. Let's keep going. These are the 10 oldest civilizations. The 10th on the list is the Akkadian. You know what's crazy? As somebody pointed out in the chat room, Jabari is pointing to a circle of rocks that people assume are astronomical alignments, meant to be astronomical alignments. That's subjective scholarship, number one. There is no definitive evidence that the stone circles in Naphtali were used for the purposes that people assume that they're used to. Let's be clear on that. Let's be clear on that. And even with their assumed purpose, which is that they are charting astronomical phenomena, none of that is part of the hallmarks of civilization. You have scientific innovations and discoveries in earlier cultures even before we get to civilization. But Houston, we have a problem here because Jabari does not acknowledge that culture precedes civilization. Even though you can have culture without civilization, but it is impossible to have a civilization without culture. This is what I be trying to tell y'all when I be telling y'all that some of these people are really super stupid. There's no nice way to say certain things. Some of these people are really super stupid. You can have civilization without having culture. Excuse me. You can have culture, excuse me. You can have culture without having civilization. You cannot have civilization without having a culture, which tells you culture comes first. Common sense. When you look at any diagram of Egypt as a civilization and you go back in the timeline, it shows you all of the cultures that precede Egypt. Mind you guys, I do museum tours at the Met Museum here in New York City. Let me just talk to y'all for a second. I do museum tours here in the Met Museum. Before we begin the part of the Egyptian exhibit, when we begin to talk about Egypt as a civilization, you know what we're looking at in the Met Museum? All of the earlier cultures that preceded Egypt becoming a civilization. Don't you know Naphtali is part of some of the cultures that preceded Egyptian civilization? But as I told y'all, Jabari wants to cheat because he knows he can't outbeat the history books. The history books show and prove that Sumer is an older civilization, not just because of writing. There are far more elements proven that Sumer is an older civilization, which I wanted to show. But apparently, Jabari needs 3 and 4 years to have this dialogue. If y'all remember, the last time that me and Jabari had this topic was a year ago. Jabari said a year ago that he could not fully go into that topic because he had a trip that he was going on, and he was coming back a week later to have the conversation. Do you guys notice that it's a year later? Let's get deeper. Not only is it a year later, in tonight's discussion, he still don't got the answers. Y'all remember what Kanye was telling Sway? You don't got the answers, Sway. You don't got the answers. He still don't got the answers. That's why he spent time stalling, talking about the rules of engagement. You know, what Jabari is very masterful and crafty at doing, it doesn't work with me, but what he is masterful and crafty at doing is evading dealing with question and answering and going into bantering and jesting one's opponent, because he's banking on having a low vibrational audience, HOK, and the fact that they'll be more entertained by his humor and jokes rather than the information that he's showing on the screen. But I come from a community that would rather show the information. Can we introduce humor and jokes and be funny? Absolutely. It helps to spread and, you know, stretch the time. That's cool. But I believe the people came for the information, not for the bantering. And I pointed out a couple of moments ago that the topic of the debate, the very topic of the debate, everybody, as I'm going to point everybody's attention to again, is when does Kemet become a civilization? So not only was Jabari evading answering that point, but if you notice, he went into Abraham. Don't you guys know on the HOK platform, that's supposed to be an automatic fail because the opponent is not addressing the topic at hand? The topic is not whether or not Abraham is historical. If Jabari wants to have a debate on whether or not Abraham is historical, I'm your Huckleberry Finn. When have I ever ran from a topic? When have I ever ran from a debate? I'm your Huckleberry Finn. But that's not tonight's topic. And I was told that on the HOK platform, when an opponent is not addressing the topic, they lost the dialogue, they lost the debate. Y'all kept seeing Jabari kept saying, what Zion is really trying to do is he's really trying to make Sumer older because he wants to give credence to the doctrine of Abraham, and you know he wants to make the Hebrews older. That's really what he's doing. So but no scholar is saying that Abraham is historic. Why are you saying that? That's not the discussion. The topic is when does Kemet, listen, if you can't answer the question, if you don't got the answers, if you don't know, say you don't know. But that is the problem in these communities. You have ego maniacs from even some of the greatest minds, because I'm not going to act like the brother isn't gifted in what he does when he's moving with discipline. But what you literally have on a lot of these platforms are ego maniacs. When they can't deal with information, they go into the bantering, right? They go into, oh, he's not letting me talk, even though they do the same thing, right? When I debated Maharakar about the whole whether or not the Bible talks about grape, Maharakar called me something booty Hebrew, which was a very weird comment to make with another man. I responded to him after, and he said, we're not going to allow that. We're not going to allow that. What am I trying to tell y'all? I want y'all to go back and look at every single debate I ever had on HOK. Literally, go back. And I want you to notice something. There has never been a point when I got out of pocket or responded to somebody with a level of aggression without them first initiating. That means something. So you can't cry about somebody's response when you initiated the attack. That's what I'm really trying to say. Jabari started posturing. I was keeping it very humble, very humble. I repeatedly gave respect to him. He gave respect to me. The conversation was going well. Jabari quickly found himself in deep waters. And where he excels greatly is in catering to himself, right? There's another word that we could use, but we're trying to be respectful on these dialogues, right? But there's another way to say that, right? He's rubbing and caressing himself, we're going to say. I'm the historian and you're the Torah practitioner. Well, you got to show and prove, because a title is nothing, right? And I'm sure your degree does not say that you're an historian. So what are you saying that makes you a historian, right? You don't have a degree in what you're talking about, but I'll respect that, because you don't need a degree in what you're talking about. What you need to do is demonstrate that you know history. But if you can't demonstrate that you know history to the extent that you don't even know that culture precedes civilization, then why should anybody take you serious in calling yourself a historian? When there are people in junior high, middle school, high school that know culture precedes civilization, that literally knows you can't have civilization without culture. As we proceed. What I'm trying to tell y'all is what Jabari is good at is what we call the Kemet shuffle. I hope you guys are paying attention when I say this to you, because it should be unequivocally clear at this point. Jabari is outclassed on the topic of who's an older civilization, Sumer or Kemet. He's outclassed because he has not thoroughly investigated Sumer. I want you guys to notice that I literally got him to agree that when he first debated me on Sumer, he didn't know much about it. Jabari used to pull up pictures of white people and say that they're Sumerians. That's why I said in tonight's dialogue to Jabari that when me and him first used to have these conversations, he would not even refer to Sumer as an African or Black nation. So clearly he's slowly learning, but he's clearly still not there yet. He's outclassed. And the thing is, what happens with an egomaniac when they're outclassed, they go to stalling, they go to bantering, they go into caressing themselves. There's other words we could use, but we're trying to be nice, right? They go into crying. I want everybody to notice that in this video, we're looking at what are the hallmarks of civilization. I want everybody to notice that Naphtha is nowhere on here, nor are any stone circles from Naphtha anywhere on here. All right, so we saw Kemet is at the back of the list, right? Kemet is at the back of the list. All right. All right. Everybody see we're at 9. The 10 oldest civilizations, we're at 9. Look where Egypt is. And I want everybody to notice this. Look at where Egypt is placed as a civilization. Is that not checkmate, everybody? Look at where ancient Egypt is placed as a civilization. Let's continue, because I'm going to show you in a couple of moments Sumer. Let's look at Mesopotamia. Kemet is 9 on that list. 9. And they're placed as a civilization in 3100. Now, I'm going to keep it real with y'all. I would argue that Kemet is a civilization as early as 3300 BC. I would argue that you could somewhat argue that, right? Even though the Sumer tips the scales. Does everybody see where Mesopotamia is placed as having the hallmarks of civilization? Can everybody see the screen where Mesopotamia is placed as having the hallmarks of civilization? If you all could see it, light the chat room up right now with some fire emojis. Light it up. Because I'm sure we just showed that in looking at the 10 oldest civilizations, Kemet is 9 on the list. 9 on the list. And they're placed at 31. I would still argue that it's 33. Notice where Mesopotamia is. And in talking about Mesopotamian cultures being older, notice that in talking about Mesopotamia being an older civilization, notice how it segues into the Neolithic cultures that precede Mesopotamia as a civilization. Because as clear as day, culture precedes civilization. So they placed Mesopotamia as a civilization around 6500 BC. But when talking about the cultures that preceded as a civilization, now we're talking about 10,000 BCE. I hope y'all duly know that Jabari got embarrassed and outclassed tonight. And he's clearly not equipped to have this conversation with me. He could have this conversation with a lot of people, but he for damn sure can't have this conversation with me. He is outclassed and has not studied it to the fullest extent, because he's on record literally saying that Zion is making things up when Zion tells you that culture is older than civilization. Zion is making that up. That's what he said. You show me any source that says that civilization is older than cultures. In fact, you show me any civilization that's older than any culture. This is a joke. If this was in an academic hall, Jabari would be laughed out of that hall. It flies on the HOK because, well, you know the IQ of that platform, so it flies there. But that's the only place that's going to fly. Notice when we talk about civilization, the main thing is farming and agriculture. No, Zion, it's stone circles in science. Who the hell told you that? And first and foremost, that is a theory that the stone circles in Naphtha Playa are to be construed as observation of astronomical phenomena. And it's subjective. There is no record from the people group in that region saying that that's how they use those stones. That is someone assuming. Y'all don't understand that Jabari got killed on so many levels with him just opening his mouth. And he's mad that I showed slides. Jabari, you kill yourself just by talking. You should have been happy that I was showing slides, because when you talked, you were killing yourself more. All right, we're going to stop there. I'm going to stop right there and just state for the record that I'm going to come back on a live stream. It's already 12 a.m. I don't typically do live streams this late. I enjoy my sleep time. So I'll come back at another time and do a live stream. But I just want to say something for the record, man. I'm going to keep it light. Definitely disappointed in Brother Sarnetta. And I don't think that he did anything outrageous tonight. I'm not going to say that. That would be disingenuous. But I do think that there still is this tendency to be biased towards not just Hebrews, the Bibles, but me when it comes to having Jabari on his platform. Because Jabari not only didn't answer my questions, talked more than me on this topic, but also cried about it. And when I responded to various things that he said, now I'm out of pocket. Even though he's literally lying. He literally said that Zion said that the Tufians are a civilization. I never said that. I said that there is no civilization earlier than the Bronze Age. The Tufians aren't a Bronze Age people. So why are you lying? I'm from Caribbean descent, y'all. When we really want to make a point, we stress every vowel. Why are you lying? Why? Why are you lying? You lying, homeboy. I never said that. You're the one that doesn't understand when civilization begins and the difference between culture and civilization and the fact that culture precedes civilization. I'm not having that issue. You are. This is crazy. crying about not having the answers, yet wanting to have the discussion is crazy. It's crazy. But we're going to end the live stream here, y'all. I'm going to tell y'all right now, stay tuned for tomorrow's live stream. Because the level of epicness on tomorrow's live stream, the level of embarrassment to the HOK platform, because they say that he's the Floyd Mayweather. So when he goes down tomorrow with what I present, it's an embarrassment on them, right? We're not talking about personal stuff. We don't do as, you know, the lower people do, right? I'm not finding videos to go into people's personal life because it's never that serious. It's information, right? The moment you need to demonize somebody's character versus dealing with their information, you have no information. So we're not coming back tomorrow to expose Jabari personally, right? In the way in which we know that's how they operate. We're coming in here to expose what he said. So I'm going to show you that all scholars are saying that culture precedes civilization. I'm going to show you that there is no civilization attached to Kemet that is not a culture that's older than 3500 BC. And when I show you all those things, you should never take Jabari Osase serious when he uses the term historian in describing his skill sets. He should simply say from this point onward that he's a Kemetic practitioner. And I respect that part about him. I don't have no issue with, that's his beliefs. And one thing about me, I believe people are entitled to have their beliefs. So I'm not gonna, take issue with the man's belief. But I will tell you guys this. After I show that he completely doesn't understand what culture is, what civilization is, and how culture comes before civilization, when I show him that Naphtha Playa is not a civilization, but it's a culture, and when I show him in all fairness that the Naphtha Playa stone circles can't even effectively be called a culture, because a culture must be connected to some people group that we can recognize, which he's going to say is Kemet. And I'm going to show you, no, it's not. So Jabari is going to fail miserably. And I just want to first say that scholarship is on my side, because there's no history books, outdated or updated, that's calling Kemet an older civilization than Sumer. All history books, outdated history books where we got new information today, new information from new books that are updated today, still agree that Sumer is an older civilization than Kemet, right? So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the embarrassment that we brought to the HOK platform. I hope you guys enjoyed watching who they consider Floyd Mayweather never lost a fight. So at this point, why people still call Jabari Floyd Mayweather when he clearly took several L's? But more on that tomorrow, guys. Signing off, it's your brother.